Okay, so I was having a lot of, while doing dishes, I was having just a lot of thoughts about just like the nature of existence and just how like bizarre it is. Um, and like I'm really sleep deprived. I've been having a lot of trouble sleeping lately. I have a slight like sleep apnea, so I don't really rest very well when I sleep, and I usually wake up exhausted, and so right now I feel a little loopy because my the mask that I use with my CPAP machine doesn't actually fit me very well, so it doesn't really work. I don't get like a good seal on it, and it just is kind of aggravating to sleep with. So I just haven't been using it. But I have an appointment next month to get that all sorted out. But until then, I just kind of have to be sleep deprived. So, anyways, yeah, just thinking about how like you can't you how you got here to this moment is sort of a mystery because you can't it's all a memory, right? Everything before now is a memory. So what's happening now is the only thing that really has any sort of reality to it. Everything else is either an imagination or a memory. And so it's really bizarre though that we trust so much of that when you can't go back and review it. You know, you can't go back and like double check to make sure like did that really happen the way I thought it did, or did it even happen at all? You know, like for all we know, and for all that we can really show ourselves. I mean, I guess you know maybe with I don't know. I don't know what science all can show. I'm not a scientist, um, but you know we can't go back and review things. We can't prove really that anything before now happened. I mean, I get that there's like, you know, carbon dating, and so in that way you can, but in terms of your own experience is what I mean. Um, you know, you can't really prove that anything happened. I guess if there's video evidence, right? But I don't know. It's a constant evolution of a single moment that is just kind of always happening to you, and it's weird how like you know, if you really focus on it, on your, you know, conscious experiencing of time, it constantly like kind of flickers in and out. You know, it's like there's like blips, and there's moments where you know you kind of just like catch yourself again. Like, have you ever been driving, and you suddenly are like, oh fuck, I'm driving, and like you don't realize like for the last like minute or two, maybe you haven't really been paying attention because you were like daydreaming or something, and so you weren't really aware of like what was around you and what you were doing, but somehow you kind of managed to keep driving. Like it's kind of like that, but instead of actually like having a daydream or whatever, you'll kind of just suddenly be in a new moment, and there'll be like these little spaces between the last moment and this moment, but that last moment is now gone because there's no record of it beyond your memory, and you just have this moment now, which is now gone. And it's this kind of process. Man, I am rambling here. Sleep deprived. Did I mention I'm sleep deprived? I am sleep deprived, and not even like in terms of time, but just in terms of quality, I guess. I'm quality sleep deprived. So the whole point of all of this is that reality is a very interesting thing to me, in the sense that you know, its tangibleness is only really perceived by our minds. Like, yes, I can feel things, I can touch things, but all of that, you know, understanding is happening within my mind, which is like encapsulated in this body. And so it's like there's always this kind of like barrier between you and like actual reality. Um, in your perception of that. I've said a lot of words that don't really mean a whole lot in the last 4 minutes. So I guess I just kind of wanted to like, you know, when I was like washing dishes before I started recording, I felt like there were some coherent things happening, and now I'm wondering if there ever really was, and if that was just my imagination. So it's like, I know, like I feel kind of stupid saying some of this stuff because I know that there are like much smarter people who like actually study these things, and I just kind of sit at home and think about these things while I'm high. And so, you know, my level of understanding is very limited because it's within, you know, this sort of sphere, and I'm kind of just constantly like poking at things, trying to like figure out like where the weak points are, and like, does this make sense, and does this make sense, and does this make sense? And occasionally I find things and I'm like, that doesn't really make sense. Like, why the hell, does anything exist? Like, that really doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, in the sense that it's like, okay, well, okay, I exist here, and I exist in this house, and this house exists in on a street, and this street exists in a city, and the city exists inside of a state, and the state exists inside of a country, and the country exists on the planet, and the planet exists in the galaxy, and the galaxy exists in the universe, and the universe exists in, like, then what? And even if that existed somewhere, then what to that? And I guess, like, you could imagine it being this sort of like thing that folds in on itself, and like, I've heard theories of like all energy getting like sucked into a black hole, and then on the other side of that black hole being shot out into like another, galaxy, and maybe it's this whole like interconnected web of things, but that still has to exist somewhere, doesn't it? And it hurts my brain sometimes thinking about that, because it's like, it's always there. Then what? And there's no end to it. But doesn't there have to be? So this has been a fun ramble. Hope you enjoyed it. If you sat through the whole thing, congratulations. You have nothing to do on this evening or day, and I hope that that was fun. We'll do this again sometime. I'm gonna keep washing dishes.